Whew, Father. Hey y'all. So forgive me, I gotta catch my breath. I just fell and bust my stuff, broke a chair, but I still got this broadcast live about 5 o'clock. So I want to welcome you guys. My name is Jessica LaShawn. I'm the Chief Learning Officer at the award-winning nonprofit Mogul Academy, where I holistically mentor youth through the eye of entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to all of my Chicago people. Let's jump right into this. Many of you are aware of Derrick Rose's impressive interview that he gave recently, where he discussed growing up and how his experience within Chicago directly impacted him. Many have just categorized this as a form of PTSD. So why should we care? For all of my teachers, my entrepreneurs, my parents, my mentors, you should care because this is something that you have to deal with directly. PTSD happens to people when they suffer a trauma. I like to call this environmentally induced PTSD because most of us are familiar with PTSD from the perspective of people that have gone to war or different things like that. Thanks so much for the love on Facebook and LinkedIn. I appreciate you guys. So this conversation is definitely necessary no matter who you are, because we're going to talk about ways that you can address the trauma that has happened in your life and how that trauma directly impacts your ability to, one, navigate your journey to success, building a legacy, being financially free, and also being able to develop a rapport with people relationship-wise that could lead to monetized initiatives. I'm still out of breath. If you missed the first 3 seconds, I fell and broke my chair. So I had to hurry up and bring something over here. But I'm trying to keep it together. Thank God. Thank God it didn't break while I was live, because I don't know how I would have recovered from that. My self-esteem ain't that strong. All right, so let's jump into this. So the first reason why this conversation is important is because trauma impacts our innate emotional response triggers. The way that we respond to things is directly impacted the most by trauma and love. So when we go through something that is traumatic, like a car accident, sexual assault, or environmental violence, like Derrick Rose was speaking of in his interview with his cousin being jumped. He was scared they was going to come and break into the house to get revenge, things like that. I'll even use one of my examples. When I was at the park with my cousins, then they shot up the park, and I literally felt the air from the bullets go phew. I was like, traumatic, right? So that directly impacts how you navigate in life socially. Because of that trauma, when I walk in a room, first thing I do is I look for exes, I look for crazy people that look like they may have guns, and I look for things to hide under and escape routes. Hey, trauma taught me. Next one, we're going to talk about decompressing is a luxury that many do not have. A lot of us, especially within the African-American community, we lack a clear understanding of what it is to be emotionally connected and mentally connected so that we can break down what happens to us. We need therapy. Sometimes we think you can just put it all on Jesus, but even Jesus had somebody to call on now. Come on, for all my biblical people, just look it up. So we need to understand that we need to work through those issues, those traumas, those situations, so that we can truly decompress what happened to us. We can't just ignore it and act like it just didn't happen. We can't act like nothing happened, because that allows trauma to surface and build up and just creates a negative internal environment for you. So no matter who you are, what you're doing, when you're trying to connect with people, even as a mentor, this is one thing we need to think about, because I have triggers, especially around sexual assault, that when people start talking about this and they have a certain opinion about it, i.e. some comments that Donald Trump's daughter made recently about how she doesn't live her life in a risky way, and so she's never been put in a position where she's been sexually assaulted. See, stuff like that, I would pop off. You understand? But I would try to hold it together. You understand? You have to be professional. But see, you have to know your own traumas. You have to know your own triggers as well. And being able to fully address those things and know your boundaries so that you can properly communicate and connect with people on a next level that isn't hindered by situations that force you to not bloom and grow. All right, next, we need to understand that trauma directly impacts our character development. So How certain strengths are born through trauma is it allows you to give birth to senses that normally you wouldn't be aware of and understand that are vital to your survival. Remember how I told you after the shootout? All of a sudden, no matter where I go, I look for exit, something hide, and I look for people, certain types of people. Yes, stereotype, but I don't care. I look for those elements so that I can feel safe. That developed a hypersensitive skill for myself that allows me to walk in a room with a different perspective than most people or other people. So being able to identify a good thing, which allows you to develop a whole new skill set that's innate within you that comes from a need or a want to survive. Next, we want to talk about the social impact of trauma. Yes, trauma has a social impact, and how this trauma impacts the way you navigate socially, and what standards do you now have for yourself and others. When you are traumatized by certain things, you then create a wall or barrier or requirements or prerequisites for someone to even enter your space safely. Right? So some people don't like folks to get close to them. Something's happened to them. They don't invade my personal space. That is super important. Thank you so much for the love on Facebook, guys. That is super important for them. We all need to keep that in mind. Social impact, how you are socially impacted by your trauma is important, and how it allows you to navigate through society afterwards and the requirements you set for others. This last piece that I want to talk about in relation to trauma is centered around accountability. This is the final piece that I think people do not do when it comes to trauma, when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to fixing your own stuff on the inside, is just a deep dive into accountability. How did this happen? What elements outside of me allowed this to happen? What could have happened in this person's life? What could have happened in this community? Who made this possible? Don't just view things from a victim perspective. View things from an accountability aspect outside of yourself. I'm not telling you to pass accountability on, because sometimes things happen to us that we have no control over. Somebody may have had a traumatic moment and they all of a sudden want to go to the post office and shoot it up. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I ain't had nothing to do with them. I just happened to be at that post office at that time mailing my grandmama her sugar cookies. That we just have to figure out that we have to take ourselves out of situations, because sometimes we're so self-centered as humans, especially within this day and age. We think that everything revolves around us. No, sometimes things happen just because you are in that drift, you are in that place, you are in that moment. Don't just view trauma as something that happened to you that is negatively. I like to view it as something that happened to me to help me grow and develop a new skill. It gives me a gift to figure out who was accountable for this happening. How did this happen? What is the domino effect for it happening? All right, guys, if you want to take a deep dive into how you can better realize your problems and deal with young people with PTSD, how you can identify symptoms of PTSD. Friday, we're doing a class on this. I will share the link below in the comments so you can register for it and you will get the download and the workbook. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for the 5 at 5. Let me see if you have any questions. Nothing is showing up on the screen. I don't see anything here. I don't know if that's because I just don't know what I'm doing. I am also really trying to hold it together, y'all, because like I said, I bust my stuff. I am out of breath. You can even hear it in my voice. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, donate to Mogul Academy. We appreciate your support. Don't forget to go look at the website. We're updating it now. Thank you. Love you guys so much. Oh. Ooh.